idea of um, the, the love that a mother has for her child. And we're all born from mothers, and uh, had we not had the love of a mother, we would not have survived. And if we follow the sort of reasoning that we have the consciousness that we possess uh, is a momentary consciousness that is born from a prior moment of consciousness and a prior moment of consciousness, each moment of consciousness needing a cause that is of a similar nature to itself. And if we follow that line of reasoning, there cannot be a first moment of consciousness in our stream of consciousness. And this is the basic logical explanation for past lives. There cannot be a first moment of consciousness because each moment of consciousness needs a prior moment to cause it. There can therefore not be a time when we were not born, not necessarily in this form, not necessarily in this geographic situation, this planet, this universe, but consciousness cannot come about except as a result of something of a similar nature, which would be a prior moment of consciousness. So, if we have been born over many, well, infinite past lives, everyone has been our mother. There's not anyone we can point at and say they haven't been our mother. This becomes the basis for an attitude that recognizes that each and every, I keep pointing here because I try when I see mosquitoes flying around to think, that mosquito has been my mother in a past life, and this mosquito, and though I don't like being bitten by mosquitoes, just the sort of jokey attitude of that has changed my attitude towards mosquitoes. And when they land on me, it's not that I, sometimes I'll let them drink, but I'll usually blow them away. But I don't, because I think that, according to this logic, that little being has been my mother. And as I say, I'm saying this sort of jokingly, however, it really does change your attitude. There was this wonderful teacher, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who used to, every once in a while, take off this shirt and offer himself to the mosquitoes. There's a certain hour around 6 o'clock, just when the sun is setting, that the mosquitoes come out in the south of India, and he would offer his blood to the mosquitoes. His Holiness has said that when he sometimes will let the mosquito bite, and he'll watch, and the mosquito, when it's full of the blood, will fly away. And he says, the thing about the mosquitoes is that they never show any appreciation for what I've offered them. So, but as I say, even though it's in jest, this thinking in this way changes our attitude towards all beings, pigeons and flies and dogs and cats and mice, and each one has, according to this logic, and even if we don't really buy into the logic, if we just sort of think that it might be possible that each one of those little mice has been my mother in a past life, wants to be happy and not to suffer in the same way I do, that really does change our attitude. But it won't come about just like that. We have to work at it. We have to actually sit and think about it. So that was where we got to at our last class. And I recounted, for those of you who are listening, we men have not gone through the excruciating process of giving birth. Painful to give birth? No, not painful. So, I don't think there are other mothers here. Have you had children? No. Have you had a child?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, no.
No.
I knew I wasn't going to have one when I was 18 or 19.
So, a lot of mothers have had a very painful time giving birth, apparently. And at our last class, as we were talking about this, I mentioned, while I was in the monastery, having gotten a letter from a friend of mine who expressed the agony that she went through in the process of giving birth. And the letter went on for many pages talking about about this. And then there was the birth, and there was no more pain. And then there was the description of this beautiful baby, the most wonderful baby in the world, and it went on and on that way. And the person who had written me the letter was watching online and then wrote me saying, "Ha, that was me." Bebeta. And it was very funny to when you talk into a thing like this, you have no idea that there's anyone actually watching. But there was someone who had actually provided the story. So that's the mother not only has given birth, but has gone through the excruciating process of providing us with life, the 9 months when we are in the womb. And then when we're born, there's no way that we could survive without a mother's help. There's no way that we, if we were left to our own devices without our mother there to feed us, to care for us, we couldn't survive. So our survival is due to the kindness of our mothers. However, His Holiness goes on here to talk about the fact that it is not only as due to our mother's kindness, but it's due to countless beings that we are able to survive. And again, this is not something that that will change our minds by just hearing it. It's something that we really have to work at recognizing as we walk through the streets of New York, as we take for granted the infrastructure of the subway system or the road system or the electrical system, or now these new the ways by which our phones work and the structures we live in. All of these things are made by beings, human beings, and who enable us to survive. So here, where His Holiness introduces the whole idea of all the beings whom we are dependent on for our survival, and it's all right. Our dependence on others is most apparent in childhood, but it does not end there. Whenever we face difficulties in life, we turn to others for support. When we are ill, for instance, we go to the doctor. Throughout our lives, even our physical health benefits from simple human affection and warmth. Recovery itself is not just a matter of receiving the right medical treatment or putting the right chemicals into our bloodstream, but it also is dependent to a significant degree on the human care we receive. This point was reinforced for me recently when I underwent an operation in Delhi to remove my gallbladder. It was meant to be a minor operation, but there were some complications, and what should have been a 20-minute procedure took 4 hours. And I had to spend a few days recovering in the hospital. Fortunately, the doctors and nurses there were very kind and warm-hearted towards me, and I remember a great deal of joy and laughter. I have little doubt that my speedy recovery was considerably helped by the environment of human warmth and happiness they helped create. We also depend greatly on the warmth and kindness of others when we reach the end of our lives. How much better it is to depart from this world surrounded by love and affection, in an environment of peace and happiness, than to be surrounded by indifference or hostility, in an environment of discord and resentment. So, considered from a purely rational point of view, the way others feel about us when we are about to die should not matter, since when we are gone, their attitudes cannot affect us. But in fact, we care intensely. At the point of death, the goodwill of others matters to us profoundly. This is simply a fact of human nature. So this, I'll deviate slightly and say, if we are around people who are coming to the end of their lives, it is said that the calm, an environment which is not causing the person to be uncalm, an environment that is keeping the person's mind content, an environment that is not tickling or provoking afflictive emotions, attachment or anger or jealousy or any of those things, is particularly important. The calmer, the more steady, the more content the person is, the better. If we can, it is said that, if you're lying there and everyone is crying and saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you're going to leave," and all that kind of stuff, that's not good for the person who's dying. The more steady, the more loving but steady the environment is, the better. Because those grasping at others or attitudes of anger or those really upset the person at a point where their consciousness, their being is more and more subtle, more and more delicate, and we would say that the attitudes that you hold at the time that you die are the attitudes that affect the process that follows death. And you want the process that follows death to be as calm, to be as steady, to be as clear as possible. So if anyone has comments or questions, please chime in as we go along.
What page again?
44. So, of course, humans are not alone in this dependence on the warmth and affection of others. Scientific studies yield similar conclusions with regard to various other mammals that also require nurture. For example, I recently heard a presentation by some scientists concerning the behavior of monkeys. They had observed that young monkeys who live with their mothers were, by and large, more playful and less quarrelsome than those separated from their mothers at birth. The ones who had been separated from their mothers exhibited aggressive behavior, suggesting that they were emotionally agitated and lacking an inner sense of security. Another study demonstrated the role that had been the role of grooming in the early physical development of rats. Even rats that had been specifically bred to be anxious responded positively to being licked, and their anxious behavior gradually subsided under the influence of such attention. Scientists were even able to trace physical changes in the brain of these unfortunate animals, showing that grooming actually released soothing chemicals in the brain and lowered the level of stress hormones in the body. So this is obvious, but if we're talking in this secular way, this is not Buddhism, this is not any kind of religious thing, but if we are talking about how to make others happy, how to improve the lives and the environment of others, to kindness is very important. You don't have to lick them. You can just be kind. In all this, I do not want to propose that our well-being is entirely passive or dependent on the way others treat us. Even more important than the warmth and affection we receive are the warmth and affection we give. It is through giving warmth and affection, through being genuinely concerned for others, in other words, through compassion, that we gain the conditions for genuine happiness. For this reason, loving is of even greater importance than being loved. So many people mistakenly assume that compassion is a religious practice. This is not the case. It is true that compassion is central to the ethical teachings of all major religious traditions, but in itself, it is not a religious value. As I have said, many animals can appreciate it, and certainly mammals have a capacity for it.
Isn't bodhicitta a combination of wisdom and compassion?
So bodhicitta, to be strict about the meaning of bodhicitta, bodhicitta is as a result of compassion, as a result of love, with a certain wisdom, a recognition of our limitations, and a determination to develop the wisdom and the enlightenment necessary to really help others. So compassion causes bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is, in Buddhism, the determination to work towards becoming a Buddha in order to be of benefit to others. The person who possesses this attitude is called a bodhisattva. So the bodhisattva is the attitude of a bodhisattva necessitates compassion, necessitates the determination to, or the wish to remove the suffering of others. And compassion, by the way, is there, Should we open a window? It's
Yeah. And the buttons.
is this coffee?
Yeah,
Coffee.
no, that works.
Coffee. Okay. Does anyone want a latte?
Sure.
Coffee? Yeah.
Thanks, babe. It wasn't for me.
What?
It wasn't intended for me.
If I have it, I'll start shaking. So out of compassion for me, I hope that you will. So, a recognition that others are suffering, wishing for happiness just the way I do, a wish to remove their suffering will eventually lead to my determination to attain a state where I can actually help them. That wish to attain a state where I can actually help them is bodhicitta. Yeah? Okay.
What do you say, I don't know if there's anything to say, but it's a recognition, what about all the hundreds of thousands of people that are now protesting against genocide in Gaza, and the president is not doing much except sending more money to the military? So where is the compassion there?
So the compassion has to be in you. We're not judging other people. We're working on ourselves. I have to have compassion towards the people in Gaza who are suffering. I have to have compassion towards the people in Israel who were attacked on October 7th. I have to have compassion for the people who are behaving badly, who are going to suffer in the future due to their negative behavior. I have to develop compassion for each and every person who is behaving in an inappropriate way, for the suffering that they will endure as a result of having behaved that way. I have to develop compassion towards the people who are the victims of that bad behavior. I have to develop compassion towards the little mosquito that bites and hurts. I have to develop compassion towards the person who's bitten by the mosquito. That's this spiritual work is work that I'm doing on myself, to myself. We're not working towards we can't change other people. We can only change ourselves. And maybe as a result of the changes that we are able to affect on ourselves, we might inspire someone else. But that's the real work is on yourself.
Well, the thing is, how do you explain that hundreds and thousands, if not millions of people now are now protesting against the war in Gaza and the genocide that's being perpetrated by this government?
So we're not going to have
I'm not trying
a
to be
political
political.
discussion.
I'm just saying that there are hundreds and thousands, if not millions of people now who are protesting against or promoting as much compassion as possible in an area of the world that's being violated by complete genocide.
So we have to join in and develop compassion. But we have to develop, it's very important in developing compassion that we develop compassion for the poor victims. We have to develop compassion for the people who are engaging in the horrible behavior, because they are the victims of their ignorance, they're a victim of their anger, they're a victim of their greed, they're a victim of their pride, they're a victim of all sorts of things that are going to cause them enormous suffering in the future. There's no doubt if we believe in the laws of cause and effect and the laws of karma, that the people who perpetrate negativity, harm to others, will suffer tremendously.
But what if they're doing it with the attitude that they think they're doing a great service to the world?
That's we're, in our practice, and it's a practice that is an interior practice, we work at thinking of this person, poor thing, he thinks that he's being of benefit, that he's helping, but what he's doing is causing harm, causing others to suffer, and you develop compassion towards him. You're working at changing your own attitude. That's spiritual work, is working on yourself. It's working on yourself in the belief that the greatest effect that you can have on the universe is as a result of that work that you do on yourself. And it also, you engage in it with the humility that there's nothing else you can do but work on yourself. Those two things are important in implementing what we're talking about here. Anyone else have a, yes?
This reminds me so much of something I just heard the other day, and it was put so simply, so it was easy for me to respond to it. But basically, it was when I can have a resentment so easily, against even a person I don't even know on the street, and the prayer is, bless them, change me. And if I think about that, it takes the resentment immediately off of them. That if you say, if I'm saying bless them, it's a total opposite. And as you said, the only thing I have power over really is me, to change my thoughts, my feelings, and it starts there. And I feel like, when you hear something, this was probably a couple of days ago, when you hear the same message being repeated again, it just drives it home. Like, this is something I need to hear. And it's so succinct, but as I said, it's if I was worrying about someone else, it's a distraction, from me, and it's also something I'm totally powerless over.
I mean, anything we can do to help others, we should do. Anything we can do to help others, we should do.
Yeah.
But the work, as we walk along the street, if we can give to someone, we give. We're not, there are those who say, gosh, if I give to that person, they're going to use the money to buy alcohol and that's going to be bad for them, whatever. If we have the wisdom to really know what's right, but if we really are trying to develop generosity, giving is probably best. There's a story of the Buddha in a past life, and he was on a boat, and there were, in the story it goes that there were 500 merchants and on the boat, and they were on the boat, and the Buddha had a certain clairvoyance, and he could see that one of the merchants was going to kill the other 499 merchants to take their money. And so the Buddha, the only way he could prevent him from doing this was to kill him. And so out of compassion, and to prevent him, he killed him. Really? That's the story. So when I heard this, I thought, well, he was killing in order to prevent the guy from killing all the people, to save the other people from being killed, and so that he wouldn't rob from them. And I told this Lama, we were discussing this story, and I presented it that way. He said, oh, no. The Buddha didn't do that in order to protect the other people from, losing their wealth and their lives. He did it out of compassion for the person who was going to kill, recognizing the extraordinary suffering that he would undergo as a result of having killed 500 people. That's the motivation that we should have towards engaging in such an act. And it shows that when we say, oh, I'm not going to give to him because he's going to drink, we're engaging in that judgment with so little in the way of true understanding of the complexity of cause and effect. And at our sort of, or my sort of basic low level, it's probably best to give. Probably. So, where have we gotten? In all this, I do not want to propose that our well-being is... What? You had a question? You had a statement? Oh. No, you have to thank her. In all this, I do not want to propose that our well-being is entirely passive or dependent on the way others treat us. Okay, yes, we've done this. Even more important than the warmth and affection that we receive are the warmth and affection we give. It is through giving warmth and affection, through being genuinely concerned for others, in other words, through compassion, that we gain the conditions for genuine happiness. For this reason, loving is of even greater importance than being loved. Many people mistakenly assume that compassion is a religious practice. This is not the case. It is true that compassion is central to the ethical teachings of all major religious traditions, but in itself it is not a religious value. As I have said, many animals can appreciate compassion, and certainly mammals have a capacity for it. Many people also assume that feeling compassion for others is only good for the others and not for oneself. This is also incorrect. Whether or not our kindness brings benefit to others will depend on a great many factors, some of which will be outside our control. But whether we succeed in bringing benefit to others or not, the first beneficiary of compassion is always oneself. So, this compassion, the definition of compassion, as we would define it, is the wish to remove the suffering of others. So compassion is not the removal of the suffering of others. The compassion is not the actual physical going out there and engaging in the removal of suffering. It's an inner aspiration. It's an inner wish. What we're working at is cultivating it should be a feeling of responsibility towards others. It should be the causes that go into developing compassion are, first of all, a recognition of the difficulties, the suffering that we ourselves experience. In order to have compassion for others, we have to be aware of and not oblivious to our actual state of being, the suffering, the difficulties that we experience. If we then recognize the kindness of others, the degree to which we are dependent on others for everything we have, and we recognize the fact that they are in as much difficulty as we are, then our hearts will automatically open to them. So those are the steps that we have to go about to really have that feeling of wishing to remove the suffering of others. I'm getting a little flash on the screen saying that certain people have reacted to the story I'm telling. Good. None of you are reacting, but so this is very so. Now, how do we do this? We actually have to sit and consider this. We have to. The first thing that the Buddha taught is the truth of suffering, the fact that we are suffering. We lead our lives. Well, my foot hurts, my knees hurt, but basically I go through life a little bit oblivious to suffering and totally oblivious to the fact that I'm getting closer and closer to death, or the different aspects of suffering and of the difficulties of life that are experienced throughout existence. And so a recognition of our own suffering and the recognition of the degree to which I'm the victim of my afflictive emotions, my attachments, my aversions. If I really sit and try to be steady, I can see how I'm not happy. My mind is tormented by these afflictions, by desires, by aversions, and that's sort of the state of my being. And it is when I recognize that not only is it the state of my being, but it's the state of all other people's being. Everyone is experiencing the same difficulties that I am. They're oblivious to them, and they are engaging in actions that are going to cause them more suffering in the future. And then I have to think about the fact, as I've already said, that everything that I have in life depends on others. All the sort of practical matters of life. We're sitting here in this room. Someone built this. Someone brought me water. Someone brought me, here I should show, this is Fuji water. And this is Poland Spring orange water. And someone bottled it, and the amount of work that went into creating this bottle of water is far beyond my ability to even imagine. Every aspect of my life, if I really analyze the work that went into growing the cotton that went into this particular thing that I'm wearing, the insects that were killed in order to enable for the cotton to grow, the picking of the cotton, the sending it to the mill where it's spun and then woven and then dyed, and then all of that. Recognizing my dependence on others, and having recognized that just like me, all they wish for is to be happy, all they wish for is not to suffer. Suddenly my heart will go out to them. Suddenly, as a result of those thoughts, I will feel a sense of compassion. It has to be worked on. It can't be, we can't just say, yes, following this. But whether we succeed in bringing benefit to others or not, the first beneficiary of compassion is ourselves. So compassion hopefully benefits others, but it will benefit us. When compassion or warm-heartedness arises in us and shifts our focus away from our narrow self-interest, it is as if we open an inner door. Compassion reduces our fear, boosts our confidence, and brings us inner strength. By reducing distrust, it opens us to others and brings us a sense of connection with them and a sense of purpose and meaning in life. Compassion also gives us respite from our own difficulties. So maybe we'll stop here if anyone has any. We're on page 45. So I didn't. So in relating what we have been discussing tonight to our Buddhist practice, now talking as a Buddhist, the method for generating bodhicitta, the sevenfold cause and effect method, in which we are trying to recognize that all sentient beings have been our mothers, have shown us great love, but are in this state of our suffering, and out of that recognition we wish to bring them happiness and compassion, and then assume a sense of responsibility. Here, His Holiness is saying it's not just our mothers. We have to really work at recognizing all sentient beings, recognizing their kindness, recognizing our dependence on others. And then from Shantideva it says, whatever worldly joy there is arises from others' happiness. Whatever worldly suffering there is arises from wishing others happiness. Whatever worldly suffering there is arises from wishing your own happiness. And so to really consider that, taking that as a little, we'll consider that. Whatever worldly joy there is arises from wishing others happiness. Whatever worldly suffering there is arises from wishing our own happiness. That goes totally counter to our sort of cultural norm, and yet I think that it's, if we really think about it, quite evident. So I leave you with that as a thought to ponder. Okay. So we will end by reciting the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha Bhagavat Tathagata Arhat Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans, is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He's completely cut the knots. He's completely liberated from extreme torment. He's liberated from craving. He's crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues and greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata, pure, the cause of freedom from compassion. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are on a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. Prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born into completely pure. Okay, let us read the prayer for a swift return of Khensur Rinpoche. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of one wearing saffron robes, Guru Losam Tulang Dorje Chan. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast ways of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the victor Losang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening, yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serve the welfare of the realm. In that way, the Bodhisattvas, though impossible for you till sickling existence end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhicitta, drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full of holiness and wish-fulfilling jewel. Return as the glory of Losang Tempe, magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimati Devi, the illusion of Dharma protection. May you spontaneously fulfill your wishes, swift blessing of reincarnations. Thank you.